They found her floating in the edge light of a dying sun. Drifting, not lost but left behind. A single figure suspended in silence, preserved by ancient tech no one could identify. Her body shimmered with cosmic dust, skin aglow with starlight, and her eyes, though closed, radiated the faint echo of things forgotten by time. No ship. No distress beacon. No name. She wasn't dead. But she wasn't alive either. She was something in between. The salvage crew brought her aboard with reverent silence. Even the usual banter died in the air. Something about her presence made every voice hush, as if the universe itself leaned in to listen. The captain called for a xenolinguist, an archivist, anyone who might read the strange runes etched into the strange half-armor she wore like a ceremonial shell. Nothing. The computers tried to identify her species, no matches. The galaxy had never seen her kind before. But that didn't stop Eli from trying. He wasn't anyone important, just a junior maintenance tech. The kind of person who patched wires and argued with coffee machines more than he spoke with bridge officers. But when they moved her into stasis, he volunteered to sit nearby. Just to monitor the systems, he'd said. But he didn't bring a scanner. He brought a guitar. And after his shifts, when the ship dimmed its lights and the stars curled around them like a sleeping sea, he played. At first softly, little melodies his grandmother taught him. Earth lullabies, songs hummed by rivers and mothers. Pieces of music meant to be whispered, not performed. He never expected her to hear. But one night, she moved. Just a twitch. Her fingers curled, then released, as if catching the final notes of his song. Eli stopped breathing. The monitors stayed flat. No heartbeat. No change in vitals. But the room felt different. He played again. This time not for background. This time for her. He sang a folk song about the moon's daughter marrying a mountain, his voice shaky, too soft, but filled with something the machines couldn't measure. Memory. She moved again, fingers curling in rhythm. He whispered her a name, just something to call her, a placeholder for something eternal. Lyra. After the constellation. After the harp. After the light that sang long after its star had died. He didn't report her movement. He didn't want her studied. He wanted her heard. Every night, he returned. Sometimes with stories, sometimes with music. He told her about Earth, about coffee and oceans, and messy apartments and crowded city nights where people still found silence in each other's arms. He told her about grief, about love, and one night, as he finished a tune and laid his fingers quiet across the strings, she opened her eyes. They were endless. Not black, not blue, but filled with swirls of galactic color, like someone had captured a nebula in her gaze. She looked at him. No confusion. No fear. Just recognition. "You sang me awake," she said, her voice like layered echoes of a wind that had crossed 1,000 suns. Eli nearly dropped his guitar. "You understand me?" Her lips curved into something almost like a smile. "I remember your voice. It guided me back." Over the next days, she spoke little, but listened deeply. She explained slowly what she was. Not a person. Not exactly. Not anymore. Her people had been born from a dying star, a civilization, so ancient their language was less about grammar and more about resonance. They lived by harmonics. Memories stored not in files, but in frequencies. Stories encoded in melody. They believed when a person died, their essence remained, a final note in the universe. Her world had fallen long before Earth had fire. But she remained, the last whisper of that star's song. "I was not meant to wake," she said. "But you did," Eli replied, "because someone needed to hear your story." She asked to hear his songs again. He played for her until his fingers blistered. She never asked him to stop. The ship's scientists tried to intervene. Asked for interviews. Tests. Genetic samples. She refused. "I will not be dissected. I am not data. I am remembrance." But she let Eli bring them recordings. Music. Translated into her resonance patterns. And as they analyzed it, they began to understand. Her entire species had embedded their culture into harmonic memory. Songs were libraries. Melodies, entire lives. And somehow, by singing to her, Eli had reawakened the code, pierced the dormant silence with humanity's most ancient gift. Art. Not for conquest. Not for efficiency. But for meaning. As word spread through the ship, more crew came. Not to study her, but to listen. A cellist. A poet. A dancer who had almost forgotten her own name until Lyra asked her to perform. Together, they sang not to wake the dead, but to remember them. Lyra told them stories through sound. Her people's rise, their fall, their choice to become echoes rather than war. They didn't want to fight extinction. They wanted to be a lullaby in the stars. I was afraid I would be forgotten, she whispered one night, as she stood at the observation window beside Eli. You were, he said gently. But not anymore. When she asked what would happen next, whether she would be turned over to a council, studied, debated, Eli just shook his head. No, he said. We're going to sing your name across every sky that will have us. And they did. The ship changed course, visiting stations not for commerce but for performance. They turned into a traveling concert, each port a stage, each performance a blend of human art and Lyra's ancient resonance. People wept, because they didn't just hear her stories. They felt them. She wasn't an artifact. She was a soul, one that had waited eons to be seen. And when she finally sang with them, when she raised her voice in a harmony no instrument could match, it was like the stars themselves leaned in. It became a movement. Across the galaxy, cultures long silenced began to share their forgotten songs. Languages lost were sung again. And Earth made her an ambassador, not to governments, but to memory. They gave her no throne, no title, just a stage, and a promise. We won't let the last whisper fade again. Eli stayed by her side, though he never claimed credit. He said only, I didn't awaken her. I just listened. And sometimes that's enough. In a universe of weapons and wires, she had become a symbol, not of power, but of presence. A star's last whisper, heard by a human, and sung back into the light.